Christopher Columbus landed on North America, and from there, him and his people, the Europeans, decided what areas were going to belong to the United States. No records of the population of the Native Americans were found before 1492. The African population in North America in the 1600s were 36,000. The population of Europeans in 1810 was 8 million in America. There was a lot of diversity with the Europeans, such as Spanish, Portuguese, French, Dutch, English, Scots, Irish, Germans, Danish, Swedish, and many more. There were motives for such diversity. Individuals were forced, temporarily passing through, for religious motives such as missionaries and refugees, adventurers who just wanted to explore the land, new economic opportunity, as well as servants. But think about it. It is important. Imagine, you're in your own home, you have your ways or routines, and someone just comes along and invades your space, sets up new rules, and completely takes over your space. How would you feel? When Europeans invaded the land of the Native Americans, Europeans wanted to have the land that they owned. But after arriving to the New World, many were thinking about how to live in the New World. They had to learn and how to adapt. Diseases from Europe started spreading when many reached the New World. The diseases were the Black Death and bubonic plague. But not only the bubonic plague, but smallpox were passed from the trip to the New World. Even tuberculosis and fevers, and typhoid and suffering from cholera as a result from drinking contaminated water, even typhus and pertussis and others. This connects to today because after the discoveries of the diseases, there are other ones that are left with no cure like cancer and HIV and Lyme and others. In the early and mid-1400s, the Americas was a vast and previously undiscovered land occupied by a large number of various tribes of Native Americans. The most recent estimates of Native American population before 1492 suggest by historians is that at least 50 million natives lived in North America and South America. However, there are no evidently clear and exact figures on how many people lived before European colonization due to the factor that there were no documentaries on pre-1492 population on who lived in the early Americas. It wasn't until 1492 that the Italian explorer Christopher Columbus stumbled upon and discovered the Americas by sailing across the Atlantic Ocean, paving the way for future European explorations and ultimately its colonization. The migration and the colonization of Europeans to this new world brought upon new colonies, opportunities, European agriculture, and animals such as horses and livestock. It brought many things that the natives have never before laid their eyes on. However, among these, one of the most apparent factors that the Europeans exchanged with the natives and were responsible for the drastic population decrease of Native Americans were diseases. As Alfred W. Crosby called it, the virgin soil epidemics was a vital factor in the natives' population decrease. In pre-Columbian New World, the land and the Native Americans have never had any contact with diseases that were dominant in the Old World. Thus, the arrival of Europeans brought upon diseases such as chickenpox, measles, influenza, tuberculosis, and more. Unlike the Europeans, the natives had zero immunity to such unfamiliar and vicious diseases. Without antibodies to protect them from these diseases, the natives were quick to succumb to the symptoms of such diseases. For instance, due to the beliefs and religious customs, the natives were unable to properly treat smallpox when it broke out among the Moqui tribe. 632 natives had the disease, however, only 412 accepted and took upon the treatment of a physician. This led to only 24 deaths out of the 412 who accepted the treatment. Meanwhile, 163 of the remaining 220 who denied treatment and used traditional Indian treatment died from the disease. Epidemics, and among other factors such as European and Native American violence, improper treatment of diseases and warfare, led to the dissemination of the natives' population throughout the years 1492 to 1820. As depopulation occurred, the European settlers pushed onward through the years to colonize various parts of the Americas. There are three factors that cause population increase, which are geographic expansion because the U.S. got states by a purchase, a treaty, and a conquest. There was also a natural population increase where people living in the U.S. had children from 1820 to 1865. The population doubled every 25 years, and immigration. Lastly, migration has been the most popular and it continues to be in population increase. In the 1790s, individuals voluntarily immigrated to the United States. In the early 19th century, there were about 150,000 immigrants in the United States. By the mid-19th century, the population increased to 2.5 million immigrants, which made up 11% of the population. Due to all of the immigration that was going on during that era, the Native Americans blamed the Europeans for bringing diseases to the America. Today, migration is still popular. People come from different countries around the world to the United States, and with people coming in, it brings a population increase to the United States. Immigrants make up 13.5% of the U.S., which means that over time, the United States population keeps growing and growing. Whereas in the 1840s and 1850s, the immigrant population was at 11% in the United States. Epidemics occur when an infectious disease spreads rapidly to many people. Usually, they emerge from changes in behavior, land use, and interactions between humans and animals. Because migration is so common today, diseases can only spread throughout the world. In 2003, the Severe Acute Respiratory Syndrome, or the SARS epidemic, took the lives of nearly 800 people worldwide. India is currently dealing with an influenza epidemic. Since 2015, there have been a reported 2,035 deaths so far. There are various ways in which epidemics change the ways humans come into contact with each other, such as food sources. People now have to observe what they eat more closely and be cautious of whether or not the food is safe for consumption, as well as strict border laws. Cross-border migration greatly increases the chance of a disease spreading. Therefore, be careful because it is necessary for a disease to be contained. We hope this video has been helpful in understanding how America came to be. Thank you for listening.